Hello everyone. This video is a brief look at Pelikan's newest M605 fountain pen, the green white. This just came out this past month, and it's kind of a continuation of what Pelikan's been doing with the other M600 series pens since about 2015's pink. We've had the violet white, the turquoise white, the white transparent, the pink, and now we have the green white. I think this is a nice addition to the palette. I think the green stripes look sharp. They have kind of a sea green look to me, though my color palette is not so good. But that's what they look like to me. Kind of evokes sensation or feeling of mint by looking at the green. The pen overall has a very kind of cool tone to it. The white is kind of a cool white. It's not like a warm toned white. And the palladium plated trim gives it that silver appearance, which continues to give it that kind of cold or cool, kind of hue to it. Not a bad thing, just, different than what you're used to with the warmer toned gold plated models. Overall, it's just like any other souverain of the series. There's nothing really deficient. It's a very reliable writer. The feed does an excellent job at resisting drying out. One thing I have noticed is that on my model, it's hard to see, there's this seam kind of running along the barrel, and that's where the material comes together. It's part of the manufacturing process. It's not anything unusual. It's more pronounced on some stripe models than others. I just happen to notice it more on this one. Sometimes stuff like that bothers people. Other things that may bother people about this model, there is no ink view window. It's just one solid piece of the barrel. The stripes have no translucency. You can't see between them. So that can definitely be off-putting, especially for those who prefer the ink view window. Now, when you hold this up against a strong light, I have found you can see the ink in there, but that's not really a satisfactory way to gauge the ink level. Other concerns, the white resin certainly can be more prone to staining, particularly if you use inks that are particularly heavily saturated. I find that with smart ink selection and good pen hygiene, it's not really a problem. I haven't had any of the white resins on my pen stain, but depends on your habits and your usage pattern. That could be a concern for you. And I guess probably the trim ring at the section here, that can always be a risk of corrosion as well, again, depending on your ink selection and your maintenance habits. These are all more kind of theoretical or abstract risk, not necessarily guaranteed things that would occur, but things that people should consider before deciding to purchase a model like this. I guess one final consideration would be the cap, and there has been, with each white resin cap, concerns over cracking. These came about, back with the tortoiseshell white, the M400, which did have an actual problem with a lot of cracked caps. That's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and you'll see a lot of reports anecdotally online about later models that also had cracked caps. Hard to say if it's a problem inherent with the material or simply just that the white's more prone to demonstrating those cracks versus the darker material. Other than that, the pen's a solid writer. The nib is, palladium plated, so it matches the rest of the pen nicely. This is a medium nib, but I had it ground to a cursive italic by Fritz Schimpf at the point of purchase. I don't usually get my pens ground, there's only a handful in my collection that are, but it's a nice treat every once in a while. You can see the cap top here shows Pelikan's single chick logo that's been used since 2003, with the palladium plated cap top that's been used since 2010. All in all, I think it's a very solid pen, particularly if you like the M600 size. It's bigger than the M400, not quite as big as the M800. Doesn't have all that weight and heft because the piston assembly is still plastic rather than brass. But overall, it definitely has a nice feel, fits well in the pocket. The only thing that really kills this pen is the price tag, particularly in the USA. The MSRP is in the 700s, and therefore retails in the 500s. And for an M600, that feels significant, particularly when you consider that this pen's over $200 cheaper when sold overseas. So that certainly gives serious consideration to a lack of value for this pen coming from the U.S. market. But if you can, pick this one up at a little bit more of a reasonable price elsewhere, it may be certainly a solid addition to your flock. So this has been a brief look at Pelikan's newest M605, 2021's green white.